Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tip Off. I don't have not a lot's happened since we talked last, and we did a vocal last, but I still wanted to maintain the consistency of this event for you. I do have one announcement for you. Our friends at Groove Satellite have got something going on that might uh, work for you depending on where you are in life and what your employment is. They've got their summer sales program going on. Uh, they've got a huge summer work crew. Great way to make some money during the summer. Work with really good people. Um, heck, if you do well, then I think you open up your door to get to work with a company that I've worked with a lot and I'm impressed with. And they've got some nice partnerships. You get some good things. What they are going to do is this Friday and Saturday at the new Jordan Commons Groove VIP Theater. They're going to have an introductory meeting. Friday is at 4, followed by the Jazz game. Saturday is at 5, followed by the Jazz game with the Bulls. Drinks, popcorn, along with presentation from Groove. This is not just a stop in and get free pizza. You've got to call ahead, talk to Tyler at 801-834-8614. That's 801-834-8614. And or email him at tyler@getgroovin.com. If you're looking for something this summer, can work as a salesperson. Uh, those are. This is probably a pretty good spot. Good residual opportunities, good partnerships, great experience, good spot on the resume, good chance to use your summer, make some money, and open up some opportunities for you. Again, it's this at Jordan Commons at the Groove VIP Theater this Friday at 4 and Saturday at 5, followed by a Jazz game. So you get to hang out, watch the game afterwards. But again, you got to get in touch with Tyler at 801-834-8614, 801-834-8614, or Tyler at getgroovin.com. I am about to sneeze. It's already been coughing all morning. But I'm feeling a million times better, and I think I can call the game tonight without any holdback, which has definitely been the case the last two games. There's been pretty considerable holdback. Trying to make sure you get to the third or fourth quarter along the way. A lot of stuff. We had an interesting vocal yesterday talking about Jazz and of course every trade rumor imaginable, which drives me nuts, but you got to do it. Uh, some of which I think we have a delusion about what we have to offer. There's a few things from the Jazz standpoint I want to make sure everybody understands that I think are important. Ron and I went to the Orlando Charlotte game last night. They went out for dinner. We're talking about some of these things. And then I got a bunch of other stuff. There's some two great quotes in the out of the NBA last night that I want to share with you, and some other things. One, realize on the Darren trade, there's a piece of it that I think has been undersold. We'll see whether it plays out or not. But there is a rule inside the NBA that says you cannot trade both of your two back-to-back first-round draft picks. It's the Stepien rule called after a former general manager in Cleveland who traded a bunch of his first-round draft picks back-to-back years and kind of crippled the franchise, and they made it so you actually can't do that anymore. So last year when O'Connor was shopping around trying to figure out what he's going to get for Darren, New Jersey was the only place where he could get two first-round draft picks, and in back-to-back years. We'll see whether we get the Warriors one or not with its protections, but that was the only one available. So because he'd already got New Jersey's unprotected one, which turned out to be Enes Kanter. So with that said, that pick is protected. I don't think that that's a pick the Jazz could trade at the trade deadline. Not that they couldn't legally, but I don't, just with its protections and the fact that the Warriors can tank and that there's always a chance you never get it because after I think 2 or 3 years it becomes a second-round draft pick. I don't think that's a pick you can talk about as a possibility for the Jazz to trade with anybody willing to take it on the other side with any real value. So realize that. I brought the first part more just for background because really pretty remarkable that we got another first-round draft pick possibility here. The second thing is I do think that the move O'Connor would like to make if he can without projecting too far forward is similar to the move he made for Darren. Now, in talking with him over the years, uh, he is pretty open about the fact that that was awfully fortunate and it probably can never happen again. So, but that move is that, let's say we finish about 7th this year, 8th, with the 8th pick. The Warriors finish about 11th or 12th. Yeah, so I would, under that scenario, have the Warriors finishing ahead of us, but we'll see. And we have 8 and 12. At that point, can you take 8, 12, Millsap, another first rounder, frankly? You don't really care, uh, with some protections, and go get into the top 3 or 4 to get one of the guys in this draft who you believe could be great. Whether you believe that Harrison Barnes is going to be great, or though he has slipped a little bit, or some of the other guys. I think Jaron Sullinger is going to be very average. I'm not a fan. So, if you're suddenly looking at picks that you don't think are going to be great, and just in general inside the league, if you're going to get a star, it's got to be a top 5 pick. I talked about this in the vocal yesterday, but if you after the 11th pick of the draft, from 11 on, 51% of those guys never make a rotation. So I think that you have to, if you can try to get yourself in the top 5 somehow, that's truly what you have to do. And so I think that, that's where you're looking. So as you enter into this trade deadline, players like Millsap, maybe Jefferson, really players like Millsap, whose contract still have a year left, they could be more valuable to you on trade day, and you have to be careful. The other thing to understand with what O'Connor's done with this team, as the new collective bargaining agreement kicks in, Raja, Paul, Al, Devin, Earl, all expire after next season. CJ, Josh, Jamal, all expire this season. All players not named, Gordon Hayward, Alec Burks, Derek Favors, and Enes Kanter, are off of the books for this team at the end of next season. Or all of them are expiring contracts next year that you can work with. One, that gives the Jazz incredible flexibility going into the new collective bargaining agreement that really kicks in after that season. I don't know how Kevin had foresight to know that, but he evidently did. And the second thing it does is allows some ability to make those moves draft day and next year. So there's some reason why this is almost a step earlier than on this trade deadline where the Jazz make a bunch of moves, unless they're simply just unloading. And that also, I think, means you've got to really figure out what you're willing to bring in those contract years. Floating around crazy names last night that made no sense, but do you want to add those contracts beyond those years? And I would argue that we're actually at a state where we probably could add some of those better because of Kevin's foresight into that regard. So I think those two things have to be remembered when you're looking at this. You want to see on YouTube? This is kind of funny. Let's see if you guys can see this. This is a shot chart here. Ron and I are playing this game. That these were all the shots are taken. You don't allow anything at the rim. You allow very few shots in this mid-range area, and a bunch of shots forced from the outside. And then here's another one where everyone shoots like within about 15 feet of the basket. And the concept we were talking about is which is actually a better defensive chart. And the answer is this one. The one with them shooting closer to the basket is a far better defensive chart than this one, because these are lower efficient shots. That's what we do in our free time. We went to the game for a while last night. Charlotte ended up winning over Orlando. Bismack Biyombo was all right last night. Kemba was better than I thought he would be. He can't shoot, but he distributed the ball really well. He showed me he was actually a true point guard, which I wasn't sure about. Silas hasn't been sure about it all year, but I thought he really showed it. What's interesting is, as terrible as Charlotte is, now 5 wins on the season. So they get one of the first 2-3 picks next year, in all likelihood, with the worst record in the league. And they suddenly have Walker, Henderson, who was great last night. I don't think he's great, but he was great last night. Biombo, Byron Mullins, who's a 7-foot decent, probably backup big, and whatever their new pick is. They got 5 pieces pretty fast. And then next year they probably add one more the year after. Um, I think we're further ahead of that with Favors, Cantor, Hayward, Burks, and whoever we get. But they will have a top 3 pick, and we've got Favors or Cantor who's got to come together for us. So they have that's all they're missing is that star in that mix. But that I thought was interesting. The 2 quotes I loved. Kevin Garnett last night asked about rebounding. I like nothing about it. It's something I have to do. It's something I'm decent at, and I know how to do. Our guys need to do more stuff they don't like to do. And do more stuff that they're decent at and try to get better at. I thought that just was a great quote. And then I'm falling in love with Dirk Nowitzki again. Asked why he doesn't take over the fourth quarter, he said, I'm old. I mean, I can't do it 66 games in 67 nights. Little shot at the schedule and a little comment about the fact he has an understanding. And that's why I'm so set on, I think, that Darren and Dwight are heading to Dallas. Orlando better try to figure out something. New Jersey better try to figure out something between now and then, because otherwise I think that could get ugly. Peyton Manning is the number one news story. I just wanted to touch on it quickly. It's very interesting because we've never had this in history before. And what we have is we have a player, it looks like a spaceship behind me on YouTube, who is coming off a significant year-long injury, but who had shown no sign of decline prior to that injury. Almost any other time, Brett Favre, any of these other players who move like this, you've seen decline in their game. And you have not seen any decline in his game. And that makes this particularly interesting. The talk is Miami, Arizona, Seattle, Washington, and then the New York Jets. We'll see. Seattle's supposedly all in. I get worried from somebody who's rooting for the Seahawks that that's a marketing campaign running your sports franchise. You always need to be worried about that. And then I had 2 thoughts on BYU I wanted to share before the day was over. I'm getting all the Greg Wrubell spring ball updates. And I had a thought. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. You can hit me on Twitter on this or Facebook or wherever. So last year at this point, we were under an illusion, all of us, that Jake was going to be great and that the team had a real chance to, win that Mississippi game, win that Texas game. The offense would be unbelievable. And even though they were independent, they could go undefeated. They might be able to run, some huge numbers up. And this year, I don't have that vibe. Maybe some of you have gotten yourself to the optimistic level already, but I feel like there's a little bit more of a realist level that is, Riley Nelson's pretty distinctly average, gamer, gutty, but he's kind of Millsap. He just really doesn't have all the skills to do that. What you're needing him to do, and so I don't think anyone's under an illusion that you're about to go undefeated or have this great season. And then how does independence impact that? Is there a different feel right now for BYU football because of independence? Because there isn't a false optimism that we had last year. And then BYU basketball, I wish you the best of luck on Selection Sunday. To me, I think this one's so simple. This is, I'm not sure BYU basketball is truly deserving of making the tournament with their performance this year. But when you look around the rest of college basketball, it's hard to find others that are more deserving. And so for that reason, I think they probably get in, but they certainly didn't do the things they needed to end the debate. I think that one's pretty simple. All right, I hope you guys are good. I hope I didn't leave anything out today. I feel like was hoping that some divine intervention was going to pop into my head and give me whatever thought it was that I had forgotten to bring to you today. Jazz Charlotte on your drive home today. Gordy Chiesa, part 2 of the podcast coming your direction today as well. Have a good one.